Oh hey, we're back. Greetings and salutations everyone. The Mechamac, this is Of the Devil. This is the problem that I have with mystery games, is that if I follow the plot then I'm perfectly confident, but the moment it shakes things up by asking me a question that I don't know, then I completely freeze up. And this was definitely one of those points. And unfortunately, because this is a Let's Play, I'm not going to just look up the solution the moment I get stumped like I do for, say, Ace Attorney. I did manage to get through most of Danganronpa without getting stumped, but V3 got particularly nasty. Anyway, thinking it over, I feel like the smell of gunpowder is a description I've seen enough that I feel this might be the answer. Oh, sorry. I should be reading this, shouldn't I? Backlog. Just do me one favor, detective. Tell me what you can smell. I don't smell anything except dried blood. Exactly. The coat smells like blood, but doesn't smell of... cigarette! That's what I've been smelling. Yes, detective. I was smoking earlier. Could you rejoin the conversation? I've been listening. You want me to smell the jacket? If you would. Let's see. Oh. No gunpowder. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Proof that he didn't fire the gun. What? What about gunpowder? Oh, don't blame yourself for not noticing. This was before your time. You can't be more than a few years older than me. But not before your partners, it seems. See, gunpowder's weak by today's standards, but it's still volatile stuff. Hard to store, prone to misfiring. And when it goes bang, it leaves behind an awful lot of evidence. How is she talking about London? Modern firearms like the ones we carry use electricity, magnetism, even air pressure, sound waves. They've got more accuracy, more firepower, less recoil, less noise, and they don't leave behind any residue. Gunpowder residue? You talked my ear off about how difficult it is tracking down a gun that doesn't leave digital traces. But a revolver like this one? It'd leave gunpowder on the skin of whoever fired it for days. So then his coat. If you don't trust your noses, you can check the lab reports. I think if they had found any gunpowder on my client or his clothes, they'd have taken the time to highlight it. Well, whatever. That just means he washed it off after shooting her or he changed his clothes. That's not impossible, but would be pretty pointless. Huh? His jacket and his left hand were blood-soaked when your officers found him. Would he really go through all the effort to get rid of something as subtle as gunpowder residue, just to get the victim's blood all over himself afterwards? I think that's a poker chip bouncing off their head in moments like that. In light of these details, I'd like to formally request that you reconsider the charges Mr. Flat is facing as soon as possible. Whoa. They're faltering now, should topple over any moment. The letter was mostly the icing on the cake for them, but that gun is all they had to link Carlos to any of these shootings. So it looks like he never actually fired the gun. I'll admit things were a little dicey there at times, but once I was able to grasp the situation, the small pieces fall into place easy enough. Not my cleanest work by far, but overall I'd say... Did she get a message? Yeah. Wait, did they actually manage to find it? Something you'd like to share, Detective Reyes? You're good. Twisting the truth into knots, making the facts work for you. Thanks. But your luck just ran out. Because the net scrubbers found a cam active at the exact moment of the shooting. And right now, I'm staring at a photo of the killer. on a bet. A photo of the shooter? If she had that, we wouldn't still be talking. I doubt she's just pulling this out of her ass. She's got something from the scrubbers. Oh boy. Just when I thought we had this. Okay, it has actually been quite a while, so let's go over my information. No evidence, no unexpected DNA, crumbs, fingerprints, or digital tampering. Same handiwork as previous 5. Ballistics matched. Debris. That's the fidget tubbies. Flat's coat. The coat the suspect was wearing when taken into custody. Blood on the left sleeve matches. For some reason we have 2 entries. No other details of forensic significance. Carlos Flat's testimony on the state of the crime when he left the apartment. The mirror was upright, the clock was on the wall. The chair got knocked over, the bed got tossed, the cushions torn. So the mirror and the clock are things we can rely on. Or rather, the mirror and the clock are the differences. We also have the pill organizer for some reason. The case's clasps are surprisingly difficult to open. Quick saving. Justice is blind. And she's got a machine gun because well, no, I don't know anything about guns, but she has one. I'm not sure I follow, Detective. Didn't we establish there was an optics blackout during this shooting? Sure there was, but this isn't from optics. So yes, that's actually our health pool. Didn't I just push the... Apparently my quick save didn't go through. Hang on, this doesn't make sense at all. That's a bold bluff for this late in the game, Detective. Especially when we both know there was an optics blackout during the shooting. But that's just it, this isn't from. So, oh, I see now. That's how it works. When you get to this fold or raise section, they will actually increase the penalty. But it also means that I picked right the first time. Good thing I held my tongue. As I thought, the scrubbers must have managed to dig something up from outside the network. Which means... Party's over, Counselor. Feast your eyes on this. Well, okay, the quality is lacking. And yet there it is, they managed to find a quarter needle of evidence in a whole city block of haystacks. What are the goddamn chances? No, with the scale their tools operate on, I guess the chances are, as always, in their favour. Alright, this isn't good, but it's a far cry from the worst case scenario I envisioned. You could even say I got lucky, which means the stakes are... Well, it's a little bit blurry. Don't look at me, I didn't take the damn thing. Technically, no one took it. Looks like at the time of the shooting, a neighbor was on their phone, probably venting about how crazy the couple across the way was acting. But if their phone was on, its camera would be on. And so we managed to get this shot through the window. Where to begin? Far away, unfocused, ultra low resolution, zoomed in, blurred, color shifted, and so compressed it looks like it's from another century. There are tools that could enhance this image any further, and I could count the pixels on one hand. And you could kiss its admissibility in court goodbye. You can't honestly claim that you can identify my client from this image. There's no way in hell you could get this past a judge. Yeah, you're probably right. We couldn't. But I think I know a DA that could. Either way, it doesn't seem like your client's leaving this police station anytime soon. That photo. What the hell is happening to me? Think I know a DA that could? Don't be so modest, old man. We have photo evidence of a left-handed shooter standing in the hallway at the same time the whole neighborhood heard a gunshot. And who do we know who had their left-hand fingerprints all over that gun? You're referring to my client. You think? We've established he wasn't wearing his modded arm at all tonight, so he must have shot with his left. Yes, and we've also established he's weak with his left side. The left side that had no gunpowder whatsoever. Forensics will never be perfect, counselor. Sometimes we miss things. Sometimes you take a walk through the rain and when you finally get where you're going, you somehow end up dry. But that doesn't mean it didn't rain. All of which is to say, before judge or jury, photographic evidence outweighs a failed sniff test. Carlos is innocent. I know he is. But that photo shows a left-handed shooter. Carlos is innocent. That photo is real. If both are true, then that means that photo doesn't show what it appears to show. So, at a loss for words? Never. I'm just confused about one thing. Where was this photo taken from exactly? Exactly. This traditional data is only accurate to the nearest public router. If we DN on the phone's owner and ask him where, why bother with any of that? Ballistics and common sense tells us the perp shot from the room's doorway. Front entrance of the apartment faces to the south. There's a hallway that runs back to the bedroom. We're looking straight at the shooter. It's pretty obvious that this was taken from across the north window. Show me that evidence. Crime scene photograph. Data received from an unknown citizen's phone camera at the time of the shooting. Because the camera was not set to photo mode at the time, the mounting quality of the visual data available was severely limited. File markers for post-capture multispectrum image enhancement PCMSI indicate that the photo has already been cleaned up as best as possible. A bird's eye view of the crime scene as discovered by the police captured within their ARC system shows the northern window facing the southern hallway, shows the western window facing the eastern wall. So they had to be north of him to get that angle. From the north. If this is from the north, then why can we clearly see that? It's the mirror! They saw through the mirror! It's not that complicated. The neighbor who got the shot must live on the other side of the street. So we're looking into the bedroom from the north window. If she's wrong, I should seize on this opportunity to start turning the tide. Let me triple check that. Crime scene map. Western window. The mirror was upright. Are we able to look at the ARC's data directly? I don't think we are. She's wrong. The photo was taken from the west. I'm afraid that's simply not possible, Detective. This photo has to have been taken from the west. What kind of bluff is that supposed to be? The good detectives are misinformed here and need to take advantage of it. Time to present the initiative. Time to press the initiative. How do you mean this was taken from the west? The autopsy tells us the victim was shot from the doorway. Your officer's ARCS data tells us the precise location of everything in the room at the time they arrived. Now your photo has shown us the exact moment of the shooting. And? It's the time! I get it now. Get back to that. Get back to that picture. Where's the photograph? Darn it, I need to remember my analog clocks. 9 o'clock. Hang on. Actually, I should probably look at my evidence here. You can now raise the ante on one hand up to the current max. Answer wrong, you'll lose more credit, but answer correctly, you can bank up more credit for trickier hands down the line. Altogether, that tells us this photo must have been taken through the west window. As long as you consider. Oh boy. I hope that quick save went through. Man, I get so eager and then suddenly when I'm expected to back it up, I can't. What did it... They said you can raise the ante, but I didn't actually get the chance to raise the ante. Just take one look at the clock in that photo. The clock? What about it? The clock, huh? Seems like London's got an idea. If he's mistaken, I could pounce on it to keep my tempo high. This photo was taken right about the time before the shooting, so... Wait, don't tell me the time of death is wrong. How did they figure out the time of death? I'm actually confused completely about how we're going about this. I'm absolutely and utterly confused by this because they've also put them in the different places where I wouldn't expect them. This sounds like a raise. Damn it. I really need it. You can raise your hand. How do you raise your hand, though? That's a good question, Detective London. But the answer's no. The autopsy, the clock, the neighbours all agree that the time of death was 9 PM. They're right, no mistake in that. So then what the hell were you on about? There's a clock on the wall in this photo, analog style. It reads 9 o'clock. 9 PM, time of the shooting. What else so special about that? Nothing. There's nothing odd about the time the clock reads, but do you remember there being a clock in the room? What? Actually, I don't recall there being a clock. That makes sense, you wouldn't recall seeing a clock, because when the police secured the scene, the clock had already been knocked to the floor. And the only clock in that room is the northeastern corridor. My client has informed me that before the crime, it was hung up on the eastern wall. Like so. What the hell is that supposed to be? Oh, we're making fun of her artistic skills again. An artistic rendition. It's very distinct. If you had information on how the crime scene was before the shooting, why didn't you just add that to the arcs? And show you my hand? Just because discovery law compels us to share info, doesn't mean we have to play fair, detective. Slipped my mind. I'll do that now. The important thing is that if the clock was on the eastern wall before the shooting occurred, then this photo must have been looking through the eastern window to see it. Don't get started getting ahead of yourself. The victim was shot at 9 PM, the same time this photo was taken of the shooter. But you want to claim the clock's still on the eastern wall when it would have been knocked down during the fighting? You've got your logic backwards, detective. Your precious photo shows that the room was pristine at the time of the shooting. And there's one other piece of evidence that proves exactly how the cards fell. Shards fell onto the victim. Shards fell onto the victim. Last shards, what about them? Nothing much really. Only that they're on top of the victim's body. And not under it. If the glass fell on the top of the victim's body, that would mean that she was dead on the ground before the room got trashed. But that doesn't make any sense. Why would anyone trash the room afterwards? It's a good question, Carlos. Luckily, it's the detectives who have to delve into the minds of the criminally insane, not us. Tell me, detectives, were there any signs of a struggle at other crime scenes? Other crime scenes? No, nothing like that. Those attacks would have been over in a matter of seconds. So what did you think when you saw the mess in the bedroom? That this was personal and things had gotten complicated. Shit happens. Shit does happen, detective. But in this case, it seems there's been a general misconception about the order in which shit happened. So what if the room didn't get tossed over until afterwards? He still shot her! We have a photo right here. And I'm glad you do, detective, because that photo proves my client's innocence. Huh? Proving that it wasn't my client who pulled the trigger is difficult. And maybe more importantly for all of us, time-consuming. Thanks to your photo, I can instead prove that it couldn't have been my client who pulled the trigger. because the man in that photo can't possibly be Carlos. Like hell it can't! The glass shards prove the room was pristine at the time of the shooting. We know that until the room was tossed, the clock was on the eastern wall, which means that this photo of the shooter was taken from the west. Back to this. I'm losing track of who's who. The glass shards prove that this room was pristine. We know the room was tossed. Until it was tossed, the clock was on the eastern wall, which means that this photo of the shooter was taken from the west. That's impossible. The only hallway in that apartment runs from north to south. The only person with prints on the gun is your client. And the only fact that matters is you use it to murder 6 innocent people. You're a very honest person, Detective. Excuse me? That's why you're such a shitty gambler. You've played your cards too early, and now I can steal the pot right out from under you. You're right about the hallway's orientation. You're right about the prints. This HK figure has claimed 6 lives. But we aren't looking at the hallway in that photo. What? What we're seeing is... mirror. What is that? You're trying the glass shards thing again? Sort of. By the way, do you recall where those glass shards came from? Yeah, sure, they came from a standing mirror. I can't figure out how to raise the ante, sorry. A mirror that, at the time of the shooting, stood across the room from the western window. But then, that would mean, at that angle from that viewpoint, it would reflect the hallway. So we're not seeing a shooter with a gun in their left hand. We're seeing a killer take aim with the right arm. And as we all know, my client hasn't had a working right arm in a number of weeks. And he hasn't worn his rental since this morning. So I meant what I said about that photo. I'm glad it was recovered. Because it just proved that my client couldn't have possibly committed this crime.